All right, it's official. It's colder than hell.
This video is sponsored by that one guy on Marketplace that asks, "Is this still available?" and then disappears into the abyss.
So, good morning, amigos. Today is another day of post-harvest tear down and wash and put away and whatnot. I got a little bit of manure to spread this afternoon, but this morning I'm going to go ahead and take the JCB, grab a couple feed wagons and feed the beef cattle. Just a couple scoops of silage and a bale of hay. That'll be good for the day. And then I got some pressure washing to do. Our grain wagons, I got to get them all cleaned up and put away. And then we'll see where we're at this afternoon. But I think the plan is to put the little Challenger or the Puma on the solid manure spreader, get that down here and get that taken care of, because we are seriously running out of space. And to be honest, I don't know where it's going. The other fields around here we have spread with liquid, so I think it's going to go behind the new barn here. In that field we pulled silage off of, but I guess we'll have to see. And that's really it. That's how you feed beef cows. So I'm gonna go ahead and bring this down to their pasture, grab the other wagon, and do it all again. Filming getting in this pasture is never an easy thing to do. Shut up. Because they like to rush the gate. Especially if I don't have a full wagon on. If I'm just coming in to pull an empty wagon out, they'll want to escape. But if I come in with food, then they'll see that and they'll try to follow me. A couple of them don't. They try to rush the gate again, but those ones we can pull back in if we need to. Anybody else find it hard to snap when it's cold? Hopefully that doesn't hurt my movie magic abilities. Alright, so beefers are fed. We're going to take the new to us McCormick, hook it up to one of the dump boxes, and we're going to wash it off in -8 with the pressure washer. Let's have some fun. I do know that the batteries in this thing are out of the combine. Huh. Okay. As a result of those batteries being in here, this thing hasn't wanted to start for us in a while, so I think the last 3 times I tried to start it, either labored or needed help. Why are you inflating? Give me a break. Holy hell. Call me fat, why don't you? Come on. Come on. Oh. Alright. Booster cables it is. See if I can find me some jumper cables in this shop. Well, would you look at that? Isn't that just beautiful? For those of you who are farmers or have worked on farms, finding things on your first try always sets the tone for the rest of the day. Let's try this one more time. Little slight change of plans today. I was gonna hit the manure this afternoon and start getting rid of all the solid stuff we have behind the new barn, we call it, but plans changed a little bit. I got both of those wagons washed off, which took a little longer than I planned. So right now we're moving some harvest and planting equipment around, getting it ready for winter. getting all put away and stuff, tucked away nicely where nobody will find it, including us in the spring. Usually whenever you go to find something with a yard this size and actually having 2 or 3 yards to put stuff, you think, oh, where did we put that? Where'd that go? And you gotta play the old scavenger hunt whenever March and April roll around. But you know, it just adds to the fun of the experience. Is that what you call it? Experience? Is farming an experience, or is it a punishment? Is it a devotion? I have no idea. Farming is farming. There's no comparison. So kind of like a dog would bury his bones, I'm just kind of stealing stuff from around the yard, putting it away here, and trying to make it look somewhat nice for the winter. That way everything's somewhat organized. Organized chaos, I'll call it. So this field right in front of me is winter wheat. We pulled the silage off that field, got it tilled up a couple times, and put it straight into the winter wheat. And I'm really looking forward to see just how that does. A funny thing about winter wheat is that it's, well, it's wheat, and you plant it just before winter. All right, good morning, amigos. It is Wednesday, sometime in November. Bob and I are just getting ready to make a load of calf starter with our tub grinder, and we're going to have a good time today. We are in the transition period now between harvest and hibernation. So we're just kind of getting things buttoned up. This is something we do once every week or two. We fill our totes in the calf barn, the new barn, get them all ready, and we go from there. So let's see what we can make happen with this. Start off with soy meal, about 15 pails of this, and then we move on to our whole grains. So I'm not overly sure why we ration them specifically for our herd, but I know that soybeans and soy meal are a really good source of protein and are packed with amino acids, which is really good for dairy cattle, just so we can kind of ration them and prescribe our herd exactly what they need to be the best producers they can be. Someone, I don't know who, made a mess over here. So I'm gonna bust out the old acoustic backhoe and get it cleaned up. Oats, soy meal, and some dry corn go in this mix. It's basically just homemade calf starter, but works out really good. We fill the totes with it, we can tail feed them from there. Got the mixer a tad full. Having fun?
Try not to let the roof get hot.
Yeah. All right, so after a brief intermission, I am now unloading hay bales we got from up the road. We got 24 bales here. I've got 2 off. We're using the McCormick to unload them, which I'm pretty good at loading and unloading bales with our telehandlers. I can do them 2 at a time, quick as hell. A loader's a lot slower, and the visibility's not as good, so I'm a lot slower and not as good, but we're making do, we're making it work. So we got 24 bales to unload in 2 rows along this tree line, and after that we're gonna get at the manure. So let's hunker down and get it done. Now this job is a lot easier to do if you got 2 hands, but because I'm a circus clown on the internet, I'm using one. If you can do it with 1 hand, you can do it good enough, right? So we'll see. I also haven't been driving this tractor long. We've only actually had it out of the shop for about a month, and we've had it for about a month before that. So we're kind of working with it, figuring it all out. But it's not too bad a tractor. I like it, but it just takes some getting used to. I'm a Deere guy. I came from John Deere when I was a kid, so it's a little different getting used to these other ones like the AGCOs and the Cases, but we're making do. We're not terrible at it. The good thing about tractors is that most companies kind of make them pretty similar. They're all pretty intuitive, so as long as you can drive one, you can basically drive the rest of them. It's the technology, like the guidance, the precision ag stuff, that's what you really got to learn. It's all interface stuff, but I mean, left-hand reverser, you got a loader joystick, transmission joystick, hand throttle, foot throttle, it's all the same thing. As long as it's got, you know, 3 or 4 pedals and a shuttle, you'll be okay. Figure it out. And that's one thing I preach to a lot of people, because when people who don't come from farming backgrounds, they're, oh, well, how would you figure out how to drive all that equipment? If you can drive a basic tractor, if you can drive, like, let's say, like a 6420 Deere, you can drive any tractor John Deere has, or at least have an idea on how. You might have to relearn how to run like IVT stuff or whatever, but power shift is power shift as far as I'm concerned. Quad range is quad range, and IVT and CVT are the same thing. So it all comes down to how good you are at adapting. I also bought a new GoPro, so I have 2 GoPros now, and we're gonna actually strap one onto my forehead, I think, for a lot of these smaller chore jobs, just so I can kind of go hands-free and you can have a better field of view of what I'm doing, because let's be real, a lot of stuff on a farm takes 2 hands. Actually, it takes 3 hands, but we make do with 2. But at least then I can set the GoPro up on a loader or off in the distance and take a time lapse or something. I don't know, get the aesthetic moving, gets the people going, you know? I think that being said, I'm gonna put the camera down here and unload the rest of these bales, because let's be real, it's a pretty boring job, and chances are you've already either A, done it, or B, seen it done. So I'm gonna put this down, and once we get on to the manure, I can probably show you a little bit more about that, because let's be real, it's a little bit less intuitive of a job. There's a lot more to watch, and it's not unloading the same bale 24 times, you know? Once you've done it once, you've done it 1,000 times. All right, folks, you know what time it is. It is officially poop on the ground time. So I had to bring the pallet forks and the bucket back. So we're gonna dump the bucket on the ground, drop the pallet forks, pick the bucket back up, and we're gonna use this telehandler to load my manure spreader once we get that hooked up and brought over. And then we're gonna go at the corn stalks behind the new barn and get that all spread. And then I think the plan might be to till that field, if I'm not mistaken. That way, when we go to start burning the brush piles that are beside the tree line in that field, we don't set the whole field on fire. That, and if the corn stalks are spread with manure, we don't want to cut them and mow them anyways for our fodder bales. So we're gonna go ahead and till that up, I believe, after we get done spreading, and that'll be one thing we don't have to do in the spring. So we will find out just how well that goes today. One thing I don't see get mentioned enough in farm videos specifically is just how much plans change. Especially on an operation this size where you have, 300 cows you gotta work. You got a lot of ground, you got a lot of chores. Plans change in an instant, which means you can't really plan ahead for too much, because, day in, day out, if you plan a week ahead, that week might not pan out how you wanted it to, and then you're kind of hurting yourself. So when we're planning out what we're gonna do for the day, we usually make those plans first thing in the morning, right as everybody's getting done milking. That way we already know what the day is going to look like, what the weather looks like, and we can make a solid plan. We can plan ahead on what we want to do, but it's really hard to set things in stone. That's why we haven't really been touching the solid manure lately, because other things have been going on. We've been racing the rain, racing the snow. We want to get certain fields tilled before we get into doing other things, because you can spread manure on a field that's frozen. People spread manure all winter sometimes, which it's more of I like to call it A, B, and C chores. A chores are things that need to get done immediately or regularly. B chores are kind of like middle of the ground when you got time. C chores are things you can kind of put off forever. So it all comes down to planning. Planning is the main key. One of the things about farming as well is farm vehicles loaded with farm animals. Right, Doug? What's up? What's up, Ellie? Yep. I love these dogs, but holy hell, your breath stinks. Your breath is hot as hell. Bob's being a lad. He's hooking up my spreader for me to the old McCormick. I'm gonna take that over, and then I think he's gonna bring the dogs over to the barn while they're milking.
let them run free, you know. And I came over here for nothing. Oh well. So I guess introductions are in order. This is Ellie. She's Shane's dog, the fake Dalmatian they got. He's always wanted a Dalmatian. They found Ellie, who's not a Dalmatian. And he said that'll do. And that's Bruce. I call him Brucellosis because he looks like a buffalo. He was dropped off on the road in front of the farm last fall, I believe. And he ran up to the barn and Bob's like, yep, that's it. You're coming home with me. And that was it. So now we have Big Bruce, the Bernese Mountain Dog, and the fake Dalmatian. Right, Ellie? Identity fraud? Yeah, something like that. All right. You know what time it is. The extrovert is hooked on to the McCormick. I've never pulled this with this tractor. In fact, this is some of the only PTO work this tractor's done other than a bagger. So we're going to see how this goes. It should be fine. Usually we pull this spreader with the little Challenger. However, I have no idea where that tractor got to. So we're going to make the best of it. We're going to take this over to the new barn, get it all scraped into here, and see how much poop we can put on the floor. Let's go have fun. So we scoop out our barn quite often. You have to keep their bedding really clean and really fresh. That way, you know, they don't get sick. They don't lie down in their own feces and that. You want to keep them clean, fresh. That's how you keep happy and healthy cows, right? We don't want to leave their bedding there too long because then they're basically just sleeping in a pile of their own, well, excrement. And if I wouldn't want to do that, I certainly wouldn't want animals that are feeding people to do that, you know? That just sounds miserable. So we scrape it out. We put new bedding in often. Every time it gets dirty, we just throw a new few bales in, scrape it all out. It's all good to go. And then that gives me something to do because I come in here every couple months whenever we get a lot of either acreage that we need to cover or just a lot of free time. I can go ahead and do this. Usually you can do it once in the spring or a couple times in the spring and then a couple times in the fall. We'll see what each field needs because let's be honest, it all comes down to prescriptions again. What field needs what? Sometimes I need solid, sometimes I need liquid. Liquid's a lot better for broadcasting and soaking. Solid is, well, to be completely honest, solid is solid. Just think of the liquid that doesn't soak in as nice. It sits a lot on top. So when you incorporate it into the soil, it behaves a lot more like soil. You don't really have nutrient leaching as much as you would with liquid, as far as I know or I believe. But I'm no agronomist or crap expert, if there's such a job. Job I find in the liquid because the liquid kind of goes where it's told to and you can kind of see a fine line. This is a little bit different. It all depends on the consistency of what you're throwing down or if it rained the night before. Every load is different, but it's still pretty much the same process. Take poop, put on ground, repeat. So yeah. Unfortunately, it is a little windy to put the drone up in the air, so unfortunately I think this is as good as we're gonna get today, but I'll strap the GoPro on there and I'll put the drone up next time we do it. We still got a couple more, probably about a week left to do this, so before we run out, so we'll see. We'll get you the content you deserve. Well, apparently there's a truck here with some calf starters, so we're gonna go and unload him real quick. I'll throw the paddle forks on the JCB. Thankfully this has a hydraulic quick change system, so you don't have to get out and undo a bolt or pull a lever or nothing. You can do it all from the cab. Where was this all my life? Goods acquired. Very mindful, very Manure. I'll make another poop montage someday when I can use the GoPro and the drone. Right now it's a Wednesday, the weather's not exactly that great, and it's pretty fresh out, so I think I'm gonna leave it here. I'll see you guys later on when we start doing something else. It's fun.